Thank you for waiting. We would now like to open the JICA Clean City Initiative JCCI International Seminar 2024. I will serve as a moderator today. I'm Fukizawa from the Secretariat. To begin with, on behalf of the organizer, we would like to have greetings from JICA Executive Senior Vice President Junichi YAMADA. Please come to the stage. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for the kind introduction. I'm Executive Senior Vice President of JICA, Yamada. Thank you, everyone, for attending in person and online today at the JICA Clean Cities Initiative International Seminar. JICA has focused on environmental management, such as waste management and water and air pollution prevention. When people from overseas come to Japan, the first thing that surprises them is that there is no trash on the streets, there is plenty of clean water available. Even in big cities, people don't have to worry about exhaust gas. This is because we have excellent technologies and knowledge based on Japan's experiences. JICA will transfer such Japanese technologies and knowledge to developing countries to help create clean cities where people can lead healthy and safe lives. In 2022, 2 years ago, JICA named this corporation JICA Clean City Initiative, in short, JCCI. Since then, the JICA Clean City Initiative has steadily expanded its scope of cooperation, launching 17 technical cooperation projects, 2 yen loans, and 3 grant aid projects for the past year. Additionally, 63 JICA overseas cooperation volunteers are very active in various countries as part of the Clean City Promotion Team. To date, the benefits have spread to approximately 330 million people in 44 different countries, and we are steadily coming closer to achieving our goal of benefiting 500 countries and 50 countries and 500 million people by 2030. I believe that this is largely thanks to the support from the Japanese government, including the Ministry of the Environment, who is attending at our seminar today. At last year's seminar, I said that JCCI was clearly mentioned as a specific measure in the grand design and implementation plan for a new capitalism set forth by the Japanese government. In addition, at the G7 Environmental Ministries meeting in Hiroshima last year, the JCCI was specified as an international initiative by the Japanese government in the attachment named G7 Roundtable on Local Climate Change. In particular, the Ministry of the Environment, representing the Japanese government, is very active on the global level. It's leading the fight against climate change and for the Plastic Convention, playing an active role as the team leader of Japan on the environment and climate change. The project carried out by JCCI are aligned with these international initiatives and treaties. And our project formulation and activities are aimed at creating international impact. JICA will continue to build on JCCI's track record of cooperation and will keep generating its results. As for methods of cooperation, we'll fully mobilize ODA cooperation menus such as technical cooperation, loans, grant aids, and private sector partnership. We will further collaborate with related ministries and organizations, local governments, private companies, universities, NGOs and volunteers, and international organizations. In today's seminar, discussions will be held in two halls. First, in this blue hall, blue stage, we will introduce waste projects and climate change countermeasures targeting 9 countries in Oceania. In the afternoon, we will introduce the current status of cooperation with Ukraine. In Ukraine, a large amount of debris generated by the war must be disposed of. We are honored to receive a key official from Ukrainian government who is going to speak on the learning from Japan's experience with the Great East Japan earthquake. Also, Professor Namba of Fukushima University, who is a leading radiation expert, is going to give a presentation as well. In addition, in the Green Hall, Green Stage, we will introduce intercity collaboration projects with local governments and also collaborations with private companies. In particular, we are conducting cooperation in 3 countries, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Kenya, making use of Japan's knowledge and experiences. Today, we also have 16 private companies participating. They will be making pitches relating to Japanese technologies and innovations. Both sessions will be recorded and available for viewing after the seminar. Finally, I would like to conclude my remarks by expressing my hope that this seminar will serve as an opportunity to strengthen collaboration with all of you through JICA Clean City initiatives, bring us closer to the realization of clean cities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yamada. Next, we would like to call upon the Director General of the Global Environment Bureau of the Japanese Ministry of Environment, Mr. Yasuyuki Hata. So, Director General, please. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Hata from the Japanese Ministry of the Environment, and it gives me great pleasure to deliver a greeting on behalf of my ministry at the occasion of the JICA Clean City Initiative International Seminar 2024. Our planet currently faces many crises, namely climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. These are 3 major global crises or challenges that the planet faces today. From the viewpoint of industrialized countries like us, we believe that pollution, or isolated cases of pollution, have been resolved. However, how to achieve a sound material cycle society, I think, has become the theme. And these efforts, rather than promoting them on isolated basis, they must be promoted in an integrated manner. And the time left for us to resolve these issues is not very long. So rather than taking such an isolated approach, I think that we are asked to take a more integrated approach to the resolution of these environmental problems. And in addition to this, the Russian invasion of the Ukraine has caused various, not only localized, but also global impacts. For example, the issues of energy and food supply, and of course, the war is the largest destroyer of the environment. And so, such attempts to disrupt the collaboration and cooperation amongst countries must also be dealt with and addressed. So we're living in a very, very tough era. Last year, at the JCCI seminar, along with JICA, we launched the C2P2, or the Clean Cities Partnership Program. And this program is designed to deliver support through an integrated approach, along with local governments, private companies, and financial institutes, to promote integrated approaches to the issues that I just mentioned. And let me share one example. One would be measures against marine plastic. Marine plastics, as you know, is ingested by many living organisms, or, for example, fishing nets, etc., continue to entangle fish after their service life is over. And this will affect, of course, biodiversity. Also, as Yamada-san said earlier, it will contaminate a clean environment, be it in the city or the rural area or the coastlines. So the reasons, the cause, of course, is the discharge of plastics to the sea. So we must prevent such discharges and control and manage plastics. But this entails not only the management of plastics, but also the control and management of all types of waste by collecting them, transporting them, and recycling them, or recovering energy from them, and then after their life is over, then disposing of them in an appropriate manner. And so creating such systems and mechanisms, sound mechanisms in the developing countries, will lead to reduced plastic contamination. And also in the process, recycle in the local community, and through waste to energy systems, recover energies. The current plan, of course, the majority of plastics are, of course, produced through fossil fuels. So they do generate CO2, but in the future, perhaps they could be replaced by bio-related energies, which means that we can move to or shift toward biomass power generation, which will also contribute to the reduction of CO2 gases. And through activities such as the JCM, joint credit mechanisms, we would like to establish sound systems for such waste recycling in the local communities in developing countries. Now, managing waste properly will lead to today's theme of developing a clean environment. And of course, in the developing countries, you have people called waste pickers who make their living picking off waste. They are irregular workers, and to provide good job opportunities for these people, I think, would be extremely important as well. So this will lead to various different job opportunities, and in the end, we can safeguard biodiversity by preventing such plastics and waste from being discharged into the ocean. And through such efforts, we believe that we should be able to generate employment in various integrated sectors. So I do hope that in your respective fields and missions that you will deliver us with various proposals to promote such an approach. And so last but not least, I'd like to conclude by expressing my hope that your contributions to a cleaner global environment will advance and toward the success of this seminar. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hata, thank you very much. Now we would like to go into each of the sessions, and we are waiting for presentations and discussions. The first session title is Achievements to Date and Future Developments of JCCI. And starting, it is already 2 years past from the establishment of the JCCI, and From Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, Mr. Miyazaki Akihiro will be making his presentations about the achievements and the success going forward. Good morning, everybody. This is Miyazaki from JICA, and today I would like to explain about the track record of JCCI and our actions to be taken going forward. And this is my material. Next page, please. So first of all, let me introduce JCCI for those who have coming over for the first time to visit us and those who have heard about JCCI for the first time. About the recap of JCCI, what is JCCI? So at JICA, starting 2 years ago, JICA has settled a global agenda which has 20 issues, and we have created a development scenario along with our partners. And we have 4 Ps: prosperity, people, peace, and planet. So those are the 4 Ps that we focus on. And to those 4 Ps, we have 20 items that we must challenge. And among them, the JCCI is related to the planet. And among planet, it is related with the climate change and the environmental control. So that is the JICA Clean City Initiative that we have established. Next page, please. And the environmental management or control. We do hear that there's a feedback. It's difficult to understand what it is. So I would like to introduce what it is all about. It is about, first of all, the waste and the air problems. So those are the components. And currently, in Japan, as Mr. Yamada has mentioned, Japan is blessed with a very good environment. However, in the developing nations, the gas and the water and the air, many people are still under difficulties. So with that, we would like to bring over the experience of Japan. And not only the experience of Japan, but JICA has a track record of ourselves experiencing our development at third nations. Therefore, we would like to lead the developing nations in a leapfrog way so that they will not have to suffer that other countries had to go through. Next page, please. So Mr. Yamada also mentioned about the Clean City Initiative, and this is the status quo as of today. Overall speaking, the benefit person is 325 million people. So we are now going forward in order to achieve our target of providing service to 500 million people. And looking at the map, you see very colorful dots. The blue dots indicates where JICA has offices. There's 96, and then the waste management project, there's many of them. So there is 35 projects in air pollution. Project counts 4. In water contamination, there's 8 projects. And cooperations or contributions to the policy is also what we do. So in various parts of the world, we are providing cooperation as JICA. And we mentioned 44 countries that we provide service to. In part of these countries, there could be some overlaps, and projects could be overlapping. But we have such footholds here. And we mentioned that we want to achieve the providing services to 500 million people. There's 2 clusters. One is waste, and the other one is the air and water. And so for the waste, we would like to focus on providing service to 300 million, and then environment, we are to attain services provided to 200 million people. And then we already have surpassed half, but then our target year is 2030, and therefore we are steadily making our development. And along with our cooperation as JICA, we have partners working together along the way. So Ministry of Environment also has mentioned about the partnership. We are partnership with the Ministry of Environment along with a project called African Clean Cities Platform. And right now we have many partners coming in, 54 nations from Africa, meaning that almost all African nations are becoming our partners. So in such a way, partner number is growing rapidly. And we have 9 JICA projects in Africa. Along with ACCP, we are tying up our project and we are providing our know-hows to them, or else the technological transfer is to be transferred from ourselves, we being as a framework. And looking at the bottom chart, as Mr. Yamada also shared, it is about the volunteers. We also have cooperation with the volunteers too, focusing very heavily starting last year. When we work on projects, central government and the local government people will be the main personnel to work. However, those people that we must approach are local people, the local residents. Therefore, the capability of volunteers is very important. And volunteers, they could be partnering with the project itself if there are volunteers already within the country. If not, maybe other staffs or else people having experience from other areas could be bringing in their technology into the project. And that is how we are promoting our activity. So that is about the track record. And for this fiscal year, I would like to focus on our highlights of the year. It's summarized in this point. We have 5 points to make. First of all, so as Mr. Yamada mentioned, last year, Japan hosted G7 ministers meeting on climate, energy, and environment. And at the annex paper, so the annex paper was mentioning the JCCI, which was a substantial step for us. So activity will not go developed and go promoted or go on without us, JICA, alone. So the coordination with other nations has a great meaning, bringing us forward on the Grand Avenue. So the orientation of the government, we would like to understand that and would like to even coordinate better for cooperation. And the second point to make is about cluster two. I already mentioned earlier. And so the waste cluster was already created, but last year, or meaning very immediate, we have been creating to realize clean air and water cluster. So a strategy has been formed for cluster two. So at the end of January, the strategy has been formalized. And last week, the website has been having the latest news on this cluster for clean air and water. Please go over and visit our website if you have interest. Later on, I would like to detail on what we do here. And third of all, this is about JICA's co-benefits approach to climate change. So it's related to climate change. And we are developing organization. And when there's the difficulties or issues, we are to find a resolution to align with the developing nations. So that's the important mission of the JICA. And along with that, working on climate change along the way, we would like to not just only see the effort and efficiency of the climate change, but also work on development together. So that is our approach. But we thought we need to work more. So as Yamada-san mentioned, the crisis of climate change is already observable. And so it is now a very near issue for us. Therefore, we want to be climate resilient, and we also would like to act on the SDGs because 2030s 2030s is the same target year for the SDGs global agenda. However, the attainment of 2030 goal for SDGs is also difficult. Therefore, for JICA, we are underway for the analysis how we would like to make through until 2030s, which I will detail later on. The fourth highlight is the cooperation with the volunteers. As already shared, we would like to work and create our loop become bigger. And from the upper stream to the lower stream, we would like to expand over the cooperative people. And expanding our range, we would like to have a bigger impact or stronger impact. Therefore, cooperation with the volunteers is something that we would like to further strengthen. And volunteers are now underway to work at site. And number 5. So 2 years ago, JCCI was established, and this is also within that we have several new activities within the projects too. So one of such new activity is about the Pacific regions. So in 9 countries in the Pacific regions are a subject. Usually, project is subjecting only one country. However, we would like to work for the region, and within the unity of the region itself, we wanted to work. So ACCP in Africa is also one region. It's not just about nation, but we would like to create some good unified sense in order to have a better effect. So therefore, we are focusing on regions. And the other one, it says integrated synergy. So JCCI is not working for the waste or just working for air pollutions. We need to do more in order to create clean cities, meaning that we have to work on various factors and we have to think what is needed in order to create a virtually true clean city. So we're working on waste control and then air pollution, water pollution. We want to create a beautiful city at once by our work. Therefore, we are challenging on a very strong project, and one of that is Bangladeshi. Today, we are going to be touching upon that at the later session. And Vietnam, this is about climate change and water quality and making the city smarter. So this project also has various factors. So far, the projects that we have been entailing was separated by sectors. And of course, by sectors, our counterparts could be different. But we wanted to break the walls and we wanted to work on the climate change at a higher level, having the beneficiary countries have a high level of awareness. And our work is going to be led to climate change. And that is how we assume in order to work on with our project. And within these 5, not included, we have extra highlight that I want to mention. Right now, we're creating a promotion video for the JCCI, and the promotion video is going to be introduced to you at the lunchtime. So public relations is very important for us for communications. We want to make our activities visual in order for the general public to understand. So we're going to be having a pre-session at the lunchtime, and this is going to be communicated to the world along with the help of the NHK, the National Broadcasting. So 21st and 22nd of February, it is going to be aired in the world. It is not going to be aired in Japan, but it is going to be communicated within the world. And for the cluster and co-benefit, I would like to explain deeply about this. Next page, please. So I just mentioned there are 2 clusters. The first one is about waste disposal. To create a recycle-oriented society, and this is already established. And for this fiscal year, we would like to work on the creation of a healthier water, air. So because of that, we created a cluster. The experience and the know-hows of the Japan will be transferred, and the track record of the overseas third nations will be also communicated to the beneficiary countries. And by that, we are aware of the actions at overseas. And then in the next page, we would like to explain on our stages going forward for clean air and water, how we are going to be taking the steps. We have 3 stages, the first stage, second stage, and third stage. And the first stage for developing nations, this is a frequent happening cases and pollution. When we talk about air and water, we don't know the reality very well. So on the very first stage, we would like to grasp the current condition. That is where we are going to be starting from. And if the status quo, what the issues are today, is not clear, we cannot come to a correct countermeasure. Therefore, the first stage is about grasping the status quo. And in some countries already know that part, and for that countries, we can start from the stage 2. However, in developing nations, it's still difficult to understand the status quo because many countries do not have the monitoring station. So step by step, we would like to go on with the developing scenarios. So confirmation will be done, and then checking will be done, and then we will be disclosing our information to the local people because we want people to be having a high level of awareness. And with that, we would like to have a good approach for the next countermeasures to be taken within the second stage. And in the second stage, uh, to the issues that we have found, what is important is going to be making approaches. So when coming into the second stage, it's not just about monitoring or it's not just about the equipment. So we have to be thinking about improvement of the rules and regulations outside, or maybe even strengthen the rules and regulations. Various aspects should be taken into consideration in order to prevent pollutions or decrease pollutions in air and water. And then going into the third stage. And third stage, we are going to be enhancing green growth. That is what we are going to be supporting. So in the background, what is within this is a philosophy of what we have experienced in Japan.
We have representatives from Kitakyushu City. As you can see, these are the photos from Kitakyushu City in 1960s and today. Obviously, just by looking at these photos, you can see a substantial change. During rapid growth of Japanese economy, Kitakyushu City contributed to the past growth. Along with that economic growth, there has been progressed severe pollution in the city. How have they made this improvement? This experience is very important. Local government and national government has collaborated together, but it's not just that collaboration. Universities, researchers, and public sector, private sector, citizens all cooperated to make these cities clean. That experience needs to be transferred to the development plans of developing countries. So next slide. This shows the state of air quality, particularly PM 2.5. This is January 19th, last month. As you can see, we have clean air above Japan, but if you look at Asia and Africa, in terms of PM 2.5 pollution, it's a very difficult situation. Sources are different country by country, but there will be substantial impact on human health. This is a worrisome situation. So how can we quickly improve this situation? That is a question that we need to ask. When it comes to air quality, I'd like to also cite Japanese experience on this next page. This is the graph of Tokyo. This was already publicized. I borrowed the slide. In the past, we measured SPM instead of PM 2.5. So SPM like PM 7 or 10. Since 1972, we began this solid measurement. In the beginning, we had very high level of SPM above a standard level. But we have taken specific measures. Some of them are listed here. We have revised laws and regulations. By doing so, there has been clear improvement that you can see in this graph. As of today, PM 2.5 is something that we target for monitoring. In Japan already, we already have monitoring at about 1,000 locations. So this is an improvement in the system itself, as well as a very good substantial contribution by revising regulations and laws. Next. So it's not just technology and facilities that we need. In this area of environment, especially in developing countries, government tend to spend more on development. But we need to redirect some of that financial resources to environmental protection. In terms of organizations and laws and regulations, I believe there is much room for improvement in many of the developing countries. That is why we want to cooperate by offering project opportunities. And as you can see at the very end, citizens' participation is extremely important when it comes to environmental management. So that is also the area where we want to help the developing countries so that we can all together make progress. The third point is about climate change. Let's move on to the next page. So this is co-benefits approach. We have 4 Ps, as I mentioned earlier. In many different areas, we have provided development cooperation for co-benefits. We are taking actions on climate change as we provide development cooperation. As you can see, CRD, climate resilient development is something that we want to achieve eventually. So we try to explore our ideas, conducting research and investigation last year to achieve this. Right now, in developing countries, climate change projects are not enough. We need to provide development opportunities as we work on climate change controls. And how we can contribute to SDGs is also a very important question that we, JICA, has to ask ourselves at the same time. By achieving CRD, eventually in the future, we'll be able to make society more resilient and more sustainable. And that is what we would like to see. If you can visualize the path to achieve that, to get there, we'll be able to increase the number of cooperators. We'll make sure there will be sufficient funding flow so that we'll be able to carry out projects solidly. Now, specifically, what can we do? That is something I'd like to explain on the next page. Generally speaking, as we engage in development cooperation, there are always trade-offs. When you want to develop something, there are always negative impact. So it's important to minimize that negative impact, the trade-offs. And at the same time, we have to maximize synergies to contribute to other SDG areas. As a matter of fact, last year, we understand SDG goals are set to be achieved by 2030. In 2023, Intermediate Global Sustainable Development Report indicated specific 36 targets. There are only 2 targets that could possibly be achieved according to the report. Pathways were clarified, but we have to do more, and some of the other targets looked almost impossible to implement and achieve because of the climate change. So we need to also work on climate change as well as SDG goals as well. So let me just briefly explain. On the left-hand side, we have our 20 global agenda, and we have SDG goals on top horizontally. And especially, as you can see that red circle there, that is what we are doing, environmental management. In this environmental management area, major goals of our cooperation is to focus on SDG 12 or 13. But it's not limited to those goals. There are also many hidden synergies with other SDG goals. For example, waste management. We will be able to possibly improve poverty situation. We can improve gender equality and environment management related to water resources as well. These are all hidden SDG synergies that we need to identify and clarify so that we can carry out our comprehensive projects. And we believe this is going to lead to sustainable and resilient society that we want to build in the future. So that is why we are working on that currently. As we develop our future project, this idea should be reflected. By doing so, we'll be able to bring about more impact on SDG achievement as well as climate change control. In terms of SDG synergies, there are many organizations that are focusing on that synergy area. The Ministry of the Environment, the Japanese government is trying to verify such synergies as well. So what we want to do is to collaborate with the ministry so that we can make even bigger effort for sustainable society. Now, my last slide. JCCI, as I mentioned earlier, focuses on human respect and security. Of course, we need to contribute to development on the regional level and national level. That is why we would like to achieve comprehensive impact in each one of these SDG goals. With that in mind, we would like to be global in tackling with climate change and also reducing marine plastic pollution as well. We are trying to design our project, manage our project, focusing on these issues, not just for targeted countries. We are considering what could be our impact on a wider area, the global environment. So our target is to bring benefit to 500 million citizens in 50 countries by 2030. We're committed to achieve this. I'd like to ask for your cooperation and support. With that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.